Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your time this evening for joining us for tonight's StackLeague and Workbank career session. So if this is the first time you've joined a StackLeague event, welcome. My name is Haifa Karina and I am your host for tonight's event. So if this is, as mentioned earlier, if this is the first time that you've joined, I wanted to give you a quick overview on what StackLeague is all about. So essentially, StackLeague is the first Philippine year-round programming tournament. So if you enjoy coding as part of your hobby, or it is what you're studying right now, or if you're already a professional, this is one of the ways that you can improve your skills by conquering different challenges, programming challenges. And at the same time, you also get prizes for it. And here are the highlights of StackLeague. So right now, we already have 300,000 cash prize pool, and it continues to increase. And also, our top programmers also get nationwide recognition, also thanks to our media partners. We also have thousands of giveaways, tech job opportunities. So a lot of our partners are also hiring. So if you're one looking for opportunities right now, StackLeague is one of the venues for you to maximize the opportunities there. And we also have exclusive event invites. So how does StackLeague work? So essentially, think of it as a game wherein once you sign up, you start at 0. And then when you start conquering challenges, you level up. So we have 3 levels. We have bronze, silver, and gold. So the bronze level questions are the easier ones. And then once you level up, the questions are harder, but you get more points for it. And the hardest level is gold. And these are the different programming languages. If you want to upskill, what are the different languages that is supported by StackLeague? So we have JavaScript, Java, Python, C#, and PHP. And also for the new ones out there, and also for our regulars. So this is one of the announcements we had last Friday, and this is the weekly treasure chest. So if you are part of the top 10 every week, you get to win 500 pesos instant cash prize. So we have here for the month of June and for the month of July. And that's it. Now it's time for us to move on to our guest speaker for tonight. So she will be sharing with us how to prepare for your interview, from researching about the company, knowing what to expect, how to combat anxiety, and more. Everyone, help me welcome the Talent Development Officer of Workbank, Ms. Tanya Mendoza. Tanya?
Yes, thank you, Haifa, and good evening na, no? Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us in this session. So my name again is Tanya, and we will be going through some of the things that we can share with you as tips, expert tips, if you may call it, on how you can ace the interview. And by acing, we mean how you can make sure that these interviews will convert into a hired or a job offer, at least when you start applying for jobs. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Workbank, I'd like for you to just watch this very quick ABP so you know more what we do. Right, so that's a very brief introduction lang of Workbank and what we do and who we are. So we're basically a job site here in the Philippines. We've been operating since 2018, and we have been where we are a pioneer of some job application or job support or application support programs like free trainings or subsidized trainings to help you land the job that you are aspiring for. Now, to also introduce myself, we've mentioned just a couple of things about me earlier. So my name again is Tanya Mendoza, and I am now the training and liaison officer of Workbank. I just got my title changed a couple of weeks ago. So from talent development, I'm now training and liaison officer of Workbank. I've been doing recruitment, employee training and development, as well as product orientations and career seminars for Workbank in the last 3 years that I've been with them. So so from the time that I started to Workbank up to now, I've been helping out in these tasks. I've also been working in a lot of BPO industries. Primarily, my experiences in the BPO industry about 12 plus years in different or various support roles. And so I guess, having done recruitment and having done a lot of job applications in the past, I guess I can say, I have already mastered the art of, job interviews, job searching, even CV writing and all. And so what we're going to do today is to share with you some of the tips, the strategies that we can apply on how to ace your interviews and how to convert them into either a job offer or eventually get you hired. So imagine this. For example, you have applied for several jobs na, and I hope some of you guys here are looking for jobs kasi yun talaga kayo yung target nitong session na to. You got called for an interview. Now, how do you make sure that if it's especially your dream job, how do you make sure na you ace it, meaning matatanggap ka because this is the job that you've been wanting to do, right? So in this session, ang ituturo natin are the hows, not the what. Like, I'm not going to give you parang verbatim on how to answer or what to answer sa interview questions, because that would mean na parang ako na lang ang sumagot ng mga interviews niyo, right? So, and we don't want that. We want to guide you on how you can answer interview questions on your own and make sure then na you become successful in this interviews as you go along. So let's start with the first part of the preparation. So the whole job interview or anything actually, for me, I believe na in order for something to be successful, you have to actually plan for it. You have to prepare for it. And I'm not just talking about, preparing yourself, but also preparing, kumbaga, yung environment mo when you are going to take the interview or where, yung mga ganong bagay, because those are also important factors that will affect your interview or yung magiging results ng interview nyo. So, especially now that pandemic, a lot of companies now have transitioned to either phone or video interviews. What are some of the things that you need to prepare for if first you are invited or you're invited on a phone interview? Usually a phone screening lang naman. They don't usually do a lot of questions naman for phone interviews. But in case you do, what are the things that you have to prepare for? First, get your vocal cords warmed up. So I remember kasi, and I'm not saying na para kayong yung mga singer na nag-vocalization, diba? You don't really need to do that. But I remember there was one instance na I was applying for a job, and this was, a long time ago, and I wasn't ready for it. And during the call over the phone, and I don't know, probably because kinakabahan ako dun sa interview, pumipiyok-piyok ako, and it actually turned off the interviewer because, it didn't sound like I was confident, I guess, over the phone. So hindi ko nakuha yung trabaho na yun, which is one of the companies that I have been wanting to apply to for the longest time. So on phone interview, since ang puhunan nyo is your voice, then you make sure that you warm it up either by, just kunyari, especially if the interview is in the morning, that you just start talking, you parang sanayin mo yung vocal cords mo na gumagana. Drink warm water even if you can. I would not recommend pala to drink cold water, especially if you're going to to talk for a while kasi minsan nakaka-dry din siya ng lalamunan. So that's just a very basic thing. Next, you remove or stay away from any kind of distractions sa paligid mo. So the thing kasi when you're doing phone interviews is, di ba, you're not seeing the person. You're just on the phone talking to someone. And it's very easy for you to be distracted dun sa mga nakikita mo sa paligid mo because wala kang, kumbaga hindi ka nakafocus on someone na kausap mo eh. They're just on the phone. So how do you make sure na hindi ka madi-distract with all, with everything that's happening around you? So you either remove anything that will distract you or stay away from it. Kung pwedeng lumipat ka ng ibang room or lumabas ka muna, yung alam mo yun, malayo dun sa mga kasama mo sa bahay if meron or kung meron kang pets, because these kinds of distractions may actually affect how you perform during the interview then, because we don't know, baka biglang ma-interrupt ka nila or may magawa sila na something na maka-distract sa'yo and then mawala ka dun sa thought mo, in train of thought mo while you are talking to the interviewer. So make sure lang that you either remove or stay away from any sort of distractions. Now, another thing that I would also recommend that you do on phone interviews or you prepare for is, to be comfortable in it. And I know there are a lot of people, I mean, siguro ilang taon din bago ako naging comfortable, doing interviews or answering interview questions. Now, it's also very easy to get comfortable kasi again, you're not seeing the person, eh, diba? Hindi kayo magkaharap in person, wala even the video. So it's very easy for you to just probably magre-recline ka ng konti, higa-higa kang ganyan, or chill ka ng konti, taas pa yung paa, ganyan. You get too comfortable to the point na parang over the phone and you won't probably notice it, but the person that you're talking to may actually hear it, that you're parang slacking off or medyo parang nawawalan ka ng energy, especially kapag ini-interview ka tapos humihiga ka or alam mo yun, nagre-recline ka, sumasandal ka lang ganyan, naririnig kasi sa boses yun. So it's very important that you are comfortable in talking to the person and you're able to express your thoughts and answer their questions, but not too comfortable din naman to a point na parang iisipin nila you're either too comfortable dun sa position mo na parang hindi ka interesado dun sa kausap mo, or that you're too comfortable na parang alam mo yun, parang chinarot-charot mo na lang sila doon sa interview at hindi na siya naging parang formal meeting over the phone. Next, prepare your cheat sheets. Actually, ito yung pinakagusto ko talaga sa phone interviews kasi nga, hindi ka nakikita ng kausap mo. So, there's actually parang may advantage in you having cheat sheets around where you can just read off some of the, kumbaga parang prepared answers mo for usual or yung mga common questions asked during the interview. And I do this actually even siguro mga, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago when I was taking in phone interviews, I always have not like yung maliliit na sheets, but meron akong Excel ng mga possible questions, and then meron ako mga naka-ready na answers to that. So at least, pag tinanong niya ako and alam kong nandun yung sa cheat sheet ko, I can just read it off my cheat sheet and there's no problem with that as long as you're able to deliver it naman na hindi halata na binabasa mo siya dun sa cheat sheet mo. And then keep a pen and paper handy to jot down questions. A lot of times, interviewers or recruiters will ask you to take note of something. Take note of parang your next interview schedule, or sabihin natin na you have questions, meron siya nabanggit na gusto mong itanong or gusto mong i-clarify. So yung mga ganong bagay, you have to have something handy to write them down on para hindi mo makalimutan during the interview. That also kasi will give the interviewer an impression na, nakikinig pala tong taong to dun sa usapan namin. Talagang they're paying attention because they're asking these kinds of questions that's based from your conversation. So that's basically it for phone interviews, just some of the things that you need to prepare for. Now, let's talk about video interviews naman, which I think is more popular now, yun nga, because of the pandemic. And a lot of companies kasi, or a lot of recruiters still prefer to see who they are talking to, and you know they can parang observe your demeanor or your behavior na rin or your attitude when they see you on camera. So how do you prepare for video interviews? First, you have to look presentable. And when I say presentable, you have to, I'm not saying pala naman na kailangan naka full pack makeup ka, yung mga babae, or kailangan naka sobrang formal, naka korbata ka pa, or naka, I don't know, naka coat, which is okay naman if you prefer it that way. But at least look as if you have made an effort for that meeting or for that interview. Remember, your interviews are considered business meetings. So you have to look professional then if you can, especially if that's the kind of environment or the kind of business that you're applying to. Hindi yung mukha kang parang bumangon ka lang sa higaan mo and then kinausap mo na sila for an interview. Kasi, and while some people, I mean, I don't really have a problem with people, you know, not really, I mean, hindi nagbibihis or hindi nagde-dress up ng corporate during meetings. But don't show up kasi na parang nakapantulog ka lang, or yung mga iba na parang naka-spaghetti strap pa or naka-shirt na parang may, alam mo yung parang hindi siya suitable for a professional meeting. So at least man lang magsuklay ng buhok and then you wash your face if possible. Wala naman sanang muta when you do the interview, because that will show the interviewer your professionalism and how much effort you're willing to give in order to get that job that you're applying for. Next, similar dun sa phone interview kanina na preparation, you want to stay away from any sort of distraction. So, if you have family members or housemates, ask them for their cooperation naman na pwede may interview ako, wag naman kayong lakad ng lakad muna sa likod ko, or wag niyo muna akong tawagin, kalabitin, wag kayong mag-ingay dun sa bahay, especially kung wala talaga naman silang ibang pupuntahan. Or if they can labas muna, hindi ka komportable na nandun sila around when you're doing the interview. So those kinds of things. Or if hindi talaga ma-avoid, then you stay away, or you parang isolate yourself to an area where you can take the video interview without any sort of interruption. Kasi again, you don't want to be distracted during the interview. Same thing, dahil nakikita ka na nung kausap mo, you don't want them to also be distracted with what's happening around you. I remember I was doing an interview siguro last year. We were interviewing for a position in our company, and yung the ate girl that we were interviewing, well, they didn't bother to actually mention, I guess, dun sa mga kasama nila na they're doing an interview. Nabigla na lang may sumisigaw na, "Ma, yung sinaing," ganyan, habang nag-i-interview. So siya parang, sige, wait lang, patayin mo muna, ganyan. So kung nasira na yung namin, kumbaga yung flow ng discussion ng interview, kasi nga may mga ganon. And then parang afterwards, parang medyo nawala na rin siya dun sa sinasabi niya. So hindi na niya alam kung paano niya i-deliver yung sagot, how she originally planned it. So yung mga ganong bagay can easily be avoided if you tell them or you let them know in advance na, hey, I am doing an interview today at this time. So if you can please lower down your voices, wag muna kayong pakalat-kalat kung dun sa background ko para hindi kayo nakita, or anything that will avoid you from getting distracted during the interview. Also, it's very important that you check your internet connection. Idagdag ko na rin yung lighting, your background, your audio, and your video. So these are like technical aspects that you need to also check before you do the video interview. Why? Because you don't want to be taking up the time, the time that's supposed to be spent on the interview by checking kung, hello, naririnig niyo po ba ako? Or nakikita niyo po ba ako? Or malinaw na po ba yung video ko? Wait lang po, papalitan ko po yung microphone ko, or papalitan ko po yung earphones ko, ganyan. It's eating up time that's supposed to be, parang opportunity na ng interviewer or ng recruiter to get to know you and to determine whether you are the person that they are looking for to fill their position or their vacancy or not. So, test it ahead of time. And we understand dito sa Pilipinas, hindi natin maasahan na 100% reliable yung internet. Napakaswerte mo na talaga kung perfect yung internet connection mo all throughout. But there's always a possibility na your internet will just mess up and it may happen in the middle of your interview. So since it's unavoidable, what should you do? At least prepare a backup. So if you know that yung Wi-Fi nyo sa bahay is unreliable, you prepare a mobile phone, or kunyari magpa-load ka ng ano yun, yung 50 pesos na load for internet. Gamitin mo hotspot yung phone mo for the interview instead, parang ganun. Para at least kumbaga meron kang backup plan if it does not work, or if the Wi-Fi does not work. At least then you can tell kumbaga parang you have already you've used up your resources, and hindi mo siya parang hinayaan lang na nawala na nga, because that may also mean a missed opportunity for you in getting hired by this company kung hindi kayo natapos doon sa interview because of a lost internet connection. Now, speaking of lighting and background, and actually yan ang gagawin ko ngayon dahil masyado nang madilim yung aking background. Dahil kanina maliwanag pa, syempre gumagabi na sa lumidilim na. No? So it's very important that you have really good lighting when you are doing interviews, because you don't want it to look like na para kang nasa witness protection program. And that happened again. One of the interviews, so parang medyo madilim siguro doon sa bahay nila, and hindi siya naghanap ng location na medyo maganda yung lighting. Para ako may ini-interview na nasa witness protection program, kasi parang shadow lang siya, and then parang may ilaw lang sa background. And the reason recruiters do video interviews, because they want to see you. They want to see yung behavior mo, your demeanor, the way you conduct yourself during the interview. And if they cannot see you, kung purong shadow lang, edi medyo parang it defeats the purpose, correct? So find a place where there's good lighting. Better actually is if you put your device, or if you conduct the meeting, or you put your device or your phone or your laptop or kung anong gagamitin for interview, malapit sa natural source of light. If walang natural source of light, dapat meron kang at least ilaw na nakabukas para yung nakikita ka dun sa camera mismo, and it's not behind you, wala yung ilaw sa likod mo na hindi ka parang maliwanag yung likod tas madilim yung harap. So you have to also try to balance that out. Same thing with background. So I mean right now nakita nyo I have changed my background to this blue Workbank thing, because well, my background is pretty much a mess. This is my room. So kumaga may mga nakasabi tayo dyan, and you don't want those things to parang to also be seen by the interviewer. And I'm not saying, people or recruiters will not hire you kapag magulo yung kwarto mo or magulo yung background mo, but it can distract the person that you're talking to as well. Another kwento, when we were doing doing interview before, it was, during the interview, and I think the person was behind parang a shurak. Pero parang ang gulo-gulo ng sapa. Alam mo yung shurak siya pero hindi siya mukhang rack dahil basta na lang sinalansan yung mga sapatos ganyan. And though the interview was going well, I cannot help but look at the mess in the background. Parang wait lang, nadidistract ako kasi ang kalat ng background mo, parang ganon. And I mean, that's probably not the case for everyone. I mean, probably that's just one time for me. But better na din that you do not, or that you do not let that happen, or for that situation to happen. Na baka ma-judge ka pa nga dahil hindi ka man lang nag-prepare, hindi ka man lang naghanap ng medyo magandang background for your interview. For backgrounds, I recommend kasi na you are facing, you have your back against the wall. Mas maganda yon kasi mas solid yung background mo. Kung meron kang wallpaper or kung yung paint lang talaga, a lighter background would actually even work. If you have like a white wall or medyo light na gray na mga ganong color. Nothing too dark kasi magmumukha siyang parang photo studio. Parang nagpapapicture dun sa mga studio na black yung background. But at least, a solid background would work. Now, for audio and video, and I think this is very much self-explanatory, you don't want, again, to be using your interviewer's time or your interview time to check whether naririnig ka nila or nakikita ka nila o hindi. Dapat, ahead of time, you have already tested that para pagdating mo dun sa interview, sabak na agad. I mean, you just go through the interview questions right away, and you don't waste time asking them kung naririnig ka or hindi, kasi there's also a possibility na hindi na i-continue ni interviewer yung meeting nyo or yung interview nyo if hindi ka nyo marinig ng maayos. So you don't want to again miss that opportunity just because of a technical issue. So for any of those technical items that you have to watch out for, do it at least 15 minutes before you go into the interview para you won't have any issues when you go to the interview itself. Now, I don't think this is actually happening anytime soon, or probably dahil kung marami nang nababakunahan sa Pilipinas, baka we might go back to the original setup of face-to-face interviews. Um, I I mean, at present, I know this is probably not the case for a lot of companies, but in case, you have to go to an office and start, interviewing in person, again, how do you prepare for that? One, always bring a copy of your resume on every interview kahit pa nakapag-send ka na via email. Because there are, especially companies that have like multiple recruiters, sometimes you may have sent your CV or your resume to one recruiter and hindi siya na-endorse dun sa susunod mong kakausapin. And that happens. And so when you go there and wala kang dalang resume, they won't have a reference, matatagal pa silang maghanap and all that. Paano kung wala yung una mong sinandaan? So yung mga ganong bagay. So best to be prepared and to have a copy, at least one copy of your resume when you go to an interview. Also, make sure that you make an impression in the first 5 minutes. And by making an impression, I mean you show your attitude na agad. You showcase your attitude, your disposition on the first 5 minutes pa lang of the interview. The way you shake hands, the way you say hello to the recruiter, the way you sit, or kung naupo ka ba agad, hindi ka pa pinapaupo, or hinayaan mo, alam mo yun, yung inunahan mo yung recruiter na maupo while they're still waiting for you, may mga ganong bagay. Those actually speaks of your professionalism din eh. And it's very important that you establish on the first 5 minutes of the call that you are a professional, and that these, parang, ano bang tawag dito? Those aren't really habits, but those parang mga ano po tawag doon? Yung mga first, yung mga impressions. So those impressions are what the recruiter will remember you for. Next, line up your questions. So, and later on, I will give you some tips on some of what questions to ask an interviewer. But, actually, interviewers are impressed with candidates or job seekers who ask questions after the interview, kasi it means that one, they're really paying attention to the discussion, and two, you're really interested to know about the company, the position, the workplace culture, yung mga ganong bagay, because it also speaks of your kumbaga gaano mo ba kagusto or gaano ka ba ka-interesado that you want to know all of these details before you even take the job, if ever. So writing down your questions and preparing them ahead of time before you go into an interview, especially yung mga hindi mo mahanap online on your research, are going to help you also make the decision whether this is a job that you really want or not, or if this is the company that you really want to work with or not then. And then on interviews, and this is applicable to any sort of interview, follow the 3 Ps, and we'll go through that individually later. 3 Ps stand for plan, practice, and perform. So when we say plan, we mean that you plan for the whole interview itself. If you can conduct a research about the company and the position that you are applying to, well and good, because you want to know ahead of time if this is really the job na gusto mo, and that you're not wasting your time and the time of the recruiter or the interviewer by setting up a meeting na hindi mo naman pala gusto yung company or hindi mo naman pala gusto yung position. So I know a lot of people don't really have that much liberty to be choosy, and that's understandable. But it still will help you if you are able to conduct a research about the company at least and the job position, kasi you want to make sure that you are qualified for the position muna before you apply. And if you're not qualified and napunta ka na dun sa interview and kumbaga, you have already used up resources to get into that interview only to find out na hindi ka pala qualified. It can be, can be disheartening. Parang nasayang lang yung oras mo and the oras din ng recruiter. So, if you can do, all of the background check on your own ahead of time of the company and the position, then that will help you decide even before you go into the interview if you will want to pursue this or not. And if you do, what are the other things that you need to prepare for? Next, make sure that you read the job qualifications and the description, and that can be tied into the research part, because it's very important again for you to know what the job entails, yung mga requirement, qualifications, certifications na ganyan, before you even start applying, because you don't want to be caught off guard na para, ay, sorry, may kailangan palang ganitong certification, wala po ako. So again, that could be a waste of effort kung nandun ka na sa interview tas hindi naman pala ikaw yung hinahanap, or kumbaga hindi ka match dun sa job qualification nila. And then, same thing kung kunyari may mga naka-line up silang mga tasks or responsibilities doon na hindi mo pala kayang gawin or hindi pala yun ang expertise mo pero hindi mo nabasa. So that can again be, parang waste of time kasi nga unless they're willing to train you, but if the company is very much kumbaga not strict, but they are kumbaga nakaset na yung utak nila that this is the kind of person or this is the profile that we're looking for, this is the number of years of experience na hinahanap namin and you don't have it, then don't waste your time and the recruiter and the interviewer's time din naman in setting up or going to that interview if hindi rin naman pala siya meant to be. And then on your CV, because I said, if you are to do interviews, you have to bring a copy of your CV, right? You make sure that you highlight your skills and your achievements that match the requirements of the recruiter. So ako ang recommendation ko actually when writing CVs is that you customize your CV you customize your CV to the job that you're applying to. If you're, for example, applying to a job that requires management skills, magmamanage ka ng tao or a project, you have to have something in your CV that mentions you're able to manage or you were able to manage people in the past, parang ganon. Kasi yun yung gagamitin nila to determine if you're the best fit for the job or not. And without that, kung hindi nila makita yung mga keywords na hinahanap nila, the skills that they are looking for, the experience that they are looking for, hindi nila makita sa CV mo, they might not even give you a chance to be interviewed. So, make a lasting impression then by giving them a winning CV, a CV that reflects yung mga requirements nila, yung mga needs nila, if you of course have them, para they will give you an opportunity to be interviewed for that position. The next P is practice. So once you've already done your research about the company, alam mo na rin kung magkano yung mga pasahod, for example, alam mo na kung ano yung mga requirements, you're qualified, and you know that you're willing to go for the interview and you want to be prepared for that. So you start practicing your interview questions. First step or first recommendation is to write an essay about yourself, because the most commonly asked question in an interview is, it's not even a question, the sort of question is, tell me something about yourself. So to address that, you write an essay about yourself and then practice delivering the essay in 3 to 5 minutes. Now, what should your essay contain? So your essay should not be a buod of your whole life story. Hindi naman tayo nagmamaalaala mo kaya. Your essay of yourself should summarize your skills, your experience, your achievements, what you can contribute, what you're looking for, because that's going to give the recruiter or the interviewer an idea of what kind of an employee you can be if they hire you, what you can contribute or what you can put into the table and eventually help them grow. Kasi yun naman talaga ang purpose ng recruitment, right? For them to find someone who can do certain things for a business, to run the business. So if you can do that, if you can write an essay, probably like, you know, a 2 to 3 sentence essay about yourself. Practice it, practice delivering it in such a way na hindi siya parang minemorize mo lang. Like it comes out to you, it comes out of you naturally. Then that's the best way of answering that "tell me something about yourself" question. Another tip, and I've not mentioned that here, if you're familiar with the profile summary part sa mga CV, when you're writing CVs, that can actually be a good answer to the "tell me something about yourself" question. So if you will write a good summary of yourself, stating your skills and your experience, you can use that same statement or that same summary to answer that kind of question. Then research for possible job interview questions and prepare your answers. We understand na hindi natin naman talaga ba, we can predict kung anong itatanong na ng mga questions sa'yo ng mga recruiter unless may magbibigay sa'yo ng, di ba, ng parang insider information on what questions will be asked. But more often than not, it's like random question. But to share with you, recruiters also follow a certain code. We have a book that we, not really a book, but like, you know, a guide on questions that we have to ask during an interview. And those questions are actually readily available on the internet. So for these kinds of questions, it's best that you do a research on the internet. Hanapin nyo what are like possible questions, job interview questions for a certain position, parang ganon. Or most commonly asked questions, and we actually will cover that later. Because not only are you able to get an idea of what questions you need to prepare for, you also get to prepare your answers by referring to the answers of the people that have them, that were able to answer them quite successfully in the past. So I'm not saying kokopyahin nyo rin yung mga answers nila word for word, but it gives you parang an idea on how you should answer a certain question when you are asked of that same question during the interview. And then when you already have listed down your possible job interview questions, you have your answers for each and every one of them, have someone practice with you. So you get an interview partner to help you practice. You can either ask your sibling or your friend to, you know, just do a mock interview with you. They ask the question, you try to answer it para you know, you get to have the feel of how, you know, you're going to do to actually say it. Naririnig mo rin yung sarili mo if you're sounding condescending ba or nagiging medyo mayabang ba or parang you don't sound confident when you're answering it. Kasi when you're hearing it, it's a different thing when you're writing the answers. And then pag naririnig mo na siya, it's also different. So if you're able to parang practice that with someone else, the other person can also give you a feedback. Baka masyadong mahina yung boses mo, or masyadong malakas, or masyadong malakas yung dating, masyadong mayabang yung dating, yung mga ganung bagay. That will, those feedback will help you, you know, figure out or determine the things that you need to adjust when you are ready in your interview proper. Pero if for example, walang gusto makipag-interview sa'yo, walang gusto mag-practice for whatever reason, this is what I usually do, even for like sessions like this. I practice in front of a mirror. I see it. So of course, I look at myself. It's a mirror. I look at myself and I look at how I deliver or answer the questions, the possible questions. You can see from the mirror then kung ano yung mga nagiging facial expressions mo, yung nagiging galaw, mga gestures mo, ganyan. And then you'll be able to adjust. If especially you're someone who's very self-critical, that's also going to help you out kasi makikita mo na agad right there and then kung ano yung mga dapat mong i-avoid. Kung na-realize mo na masyado palang maggalaw yung kamay ko, for example, during the interview, baka nakaka-distract. Or baka makikita mo din na parang mukha pala akong galit habang sinasabi ko yung ganito kahit hindi naman ako galit. Then you're able to adjust right there and then before you even go through the interview. So those are just some of the things that you can do to practice. Now, on the day of the interview itself, after you've done all of the preparations, you've practiced and all, it's time for you now to perform, to actually show them what you have in store and what you can contribute to the company. Now, it's important as part of your performance to come in early as much as possible. Actually, early dito be punctual lang pero ako, I'd rather you be early for an interview. So, if the interview is scheduled at 9 a.m., you be ready as early as 8:30 or even 8:45. Sabihin na natin 8:45, you have 15 minutes. Because you don't want the recruiter to be waiting for you. Some interviewers actually ayaw na naghihintay. And if kahit 5 minutes ka lang late, they're gonna X you out. Hindi ka na nila i-entertain. Because again, in a business scenario, tardiness, yung pagiging late is frowned upon. So if interview pa lang, late ka na, you're already setting up like, a very bad impression for yourself. So make sure that you come in on time, you're punctual, and on the interview, you are also polite. Like it's one thing to be cordial and to be friendly, but you have to also find the balance of being super friendly to the point na parang naging chikahan na lang yung interview nyo versus it being a formal meeting pa rin for a job interview. And then during the interview, think before you speak. And especially, and this is what usually happens when you're attending interview sessions, they will ask you situational questions like, what would you do? Or was there an instance in the past that this happened? Blah, 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 ganyan. So when you're answering questions like that, or questions that require for you to tell a story, you follow what we call the STAR strategy. And STAR stands for situation, task, action, and then result. So STAR. Situation means you setting the background, or yung kumbaga yung background of the story. So if you're telling a story, you want to tell them first, ano bang nangyari? What's the situation? Anong issue? And then you transition to what you are supposed to do. What's your task? Ano bang dapat mong gawin? Ano ba yung mga challenges na kailangan mong i-overcome? And then you go for the A, the action, which is anong ginawa mo. Knowing na ito yung situation and ito yung task mo, anong ginawa mo. And then after doing that, anong naging result. So that's your R. And that helps you come up with a more plausible and a more cohesive story in your head, because kumbaga your flow or your train of thought is kumbaga sunod-sunod. So to give you an example, and most of ang pinaka common question na tatanungin on an interview is, was there a situation in the past that you have to show your leadership skills, for example, or you have to show some skills that will help resolve a certain issue in a company, parang ganon. So how do you answer that in a STAR strategy? First, you tell them ang background of the story, and this is how I would do it. So, for example, there was a time in my previous office that our managers were out, and I'm talking about a situation in a BPO. So all of our managers are out on the weekend. We don't have any managers, and what happened is there was a system downtime. Nag-down lahat ng computers, ganyan, nawala ng connection and all that. And I am a floor leader. I'm a subject matter expert, and being the parang senior among all of the other employees who are in that shift, it's my responsibility to continue or to find ways to continue the business operations. So what did I do? You go to the A. What I did is, first, I reported the issue to our IT team so they can have it looked into, while I talked to the employees and the other, the colleagues, the other office mates, to not panic and to just, prepare and probably read some of the knowledge articles that we have while waiting for the systems to get back up, while we also prepare for possible reports or will we prepare for possible complaints kasi nga nawala bigla yung operations. And then what happened is that when the systems were back up, we were able to get everyone to prepare for the influx of calls. We were able to report it to the team, and the system was restored in like no time, and we were able to go back to the normal operations. So if you go through, or if you use the STAR strategy, kumbaga it's easier for you to tell a story kasi may sinusundan kang thought. And that's also easier for the person that you're talking to understand kasi kumbaga you're walking them through sa mga nangyari on a parang step-by-step basis. Next, so when you do and when you, for example, start applying the STAR strategy on your interview, you also want to make sure that you speak clearly, cohesively, calmly, and confidently during the interview, all throughout the interview. You don't want to seem too arrogant kasi, I mean, especially kung confident ka na kaya mong gawin yung trabaho and you think that, you know, you are the person they're looking for, sometimes kahit maganda yung credentials mo and all, if the recruiters, you know, hindi ka nila feel because of how you presented yourself or because of how you spoke to them during the interview or just because hindi nila naiintindihan yung sinabi mo kasi nga you're not even cohesive during the interview, they might not even hire you for that position. So you always wanna make sure that that's also looked into. Also, observe proper dress code and your body language. Now, for dress code, you have to actually conduct, you have to include that on your research. Now, if you are applying to a corporate job, for sure, on your interview, you are expected to be wearing something professional. But if you're applying for a position naman that isn't too formal, hindi when the businesses, you know, parang yung mga bagong businesses ngayon that they're not very particular with, you know, how you look like, you can dress up however you want, in a more classy business, ano mo tawag doon, business casual manner. So yung mga ganon, you have to actually check that out and research before you even go into the interview para you don't go overdressed na mukha kang ikaw yung mag-i-interview dun sa interviewer, or you don't go underdressed naman na mukha kang nakapambahay ka lang and then, you know, naman nakabihis naman yung kausap mo. So just make sure that you check that and then you follow the dress code. Nothing too revealing for girls, nothing to labas mga braso sa mga lalaki, yung mga super fitted na mga shirts, because that can also be, you know, uncomfortable. Baka hindi ka makapag-deliver ng tama ng mga responses mo during the interview if you're not wearing something you're comfortable in. And then, of course, you observe your body language then. You don't want to make it look like or to make it seem na hindi ka interesado. Interviewers or recruiters are actually trained to look at a person's behavior or yung aura, not the aura, but the yung demeanor nga during the interview, and they will know whether you are interested in the position or not. So if they see na parang this person is not, parang napilitan lang siya umattend sa session na to, or parang hindi naman talaga niya gusto, then they probably will not even consider you for that position. So you do watch out for that. And then whatever the result of the interview is, whether you move on to the next stage or not, you thank the interviewer pa din because they have given you the time to be interviewed and to be showcase your skills and your abilities. It just so happened kung hindi ka nga natanggap, there probably is something you could have done better during the interview, but still their time was used to give you that opportunity, so you have to thank them nonetheless. Now, going into the interview questions that are commonly asked, kagaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, ang most commonly asked question is to tell us something about yourself, or tell me something about yourself question, or walk me through your experience. And yeah, meron ako mga memes kasi bilang mahilig ako sa memes talaga. So ginamit natin sa presentation. But what do these memes show us? Na if you're not prepared for the interview questions, chances are you will answer it in a very, parang senseless manner. Kumbaga parang, wala akong sagot I'm not ready for this and you don't want that to happen during their interview. So, what are some of the commonly asked questions during an interview? Aside from tell me something about yourself, recruiters will ask, what are your strengths? They want to know kasi, what are the things that you can contribute to their company? So, kaya itatanong yan. They want to know kung anong kakayanan mo, anong mga naging achievements mo in the past, anong mga kaya mong gawin for us. That, of course, will help them determine if you are the person that they're looking for or not. So it's very important that when you are asked for what your strengths are, you really give them measurable strengths, skills that you have applied in the past that is applicable to the job that you're applying to now, and that you know will help them develop or build or grow their business. So for example, if you're in the IT, industry, ano bang mga strengths ng mga IT person, aside from technical kasi it's like programming, but of course if you have a very good or if you have very high quality or a high standard na programming skills, and you're very critical din dun sa mga maliliit, even the littlest of details, that's something that you can already mention as your strength, especially if you know na yun yung hinahanap ng company na nag-hire dun sa position na yun. So you have to mirror ano ba yung hinahanap nila, and that's the strength that you are going to give them if you have it. I'm not saying you have to maggawa-gawa ka ng strength para lang matanggap ka, di ba? But if you have it, then you flaunt it. What do you consider is or as your weakness? And this is also a way for recruiters naman to know the things that they will need to watch out for, or the things that they will need to train you on. So it's important that when you are asked a question, what is your weakness, that you answer really with your weakness. Diba? You're not going to yung iba kasi ginagawa nila is they would answer it still with a skill, pero with a strength, pero parang iniiba lang nila yung word. For example, ang sinasabi, common na naririnig ko during the interview is ang weakness daw nila is that they are perfectionists. When in fact, being a perfectionist may not even be a weakness, because in most cases, if you're a perfectionist, you make sure that everything is in order, you're very keen dun sa mga details, then actually that could be a strength. But they would position it in such a way na it's a weakness kasi yun yung ayaw ng mga tao sa akin, or yun yung nagpapatagal dun sa trabaho ko. So it's parang kumbaga you're just parang pinapaganda mo lang yung sagot mo, but you're basically still not answering the question. So when you're asked for a weakness, you actually answer them with something that you know you're struggling with. In my case, for example, I struggle with multitasking. I really cannot focus on I really cannot focus kapag marami akong iba-ibang ginagawa. I want to only work parang one project or one task at a time. So that's my weakness kasi other people can do multiple tasks at the same time. I can't. But you have to always follow it up with what are you doing to remedy that, or to correct that, or to at least help that out, or to help you out with that. So if my problem is with multitasking, anong ginagawa ko to make sure na nako-compensate ko yon? And what I do is I properly schedule my tasks. So para nagagawa ko pa rin yung maraming bagay without me having to compromise dun sa mga ibang tasks ko pa kasi they're properly scheduled. So that's how you should answer those kinds of questions, because you don't want to end it at just ang weakness ko po is madali po uminit yung ulo ko. Kasi yun na, diba? You're not even showing you're not even telling them anong ginagawa mo to fix it. Kasi if not, di parang iisipin ng recruiter na okay, may attitude lang siya. So gusto ko ba siya sa company namin or not? So baka hindi ka matanggap doon. But if you tell them na medyo mabilis ako ma-frustrate because, gusto ko lahat, everything is going in order. Kaya what I do para hindi ako ma-frustrate is ahead of time nagpaplano na ako sa lahat ng mga pwedeng mangyari para whatever the outcome is, meron akong prepared na response. Then that would give the interviewer the impression na, okay, eto, meron siyang struggling siya sa ganitong part na to, baka we can help him out by, help him or her out by training him or coaching him or something. But at least, you're also doing something on your end to fix it. And then yung describe a situation when is a very common question, but I give you the strategy earlier on how to answer that. Always follow the STAR strategy and you will never go wrong. Now, yung question why should we hire you? Another, parang nakakatawa lang minsan kasi yung mga responses ng mga tao dun sa why should we hire you is parang, because you're hiring, parang medyo sarcastic pa yung dating, which isn't actually acceptable. It's not acceptable in a real interview scenario. But if you are asked this question, the best answer to that is to highlight, kumbaga, i-reiterate mo the skills that you have, and you match it with their requirements. You said that you're looking for someone who can do this, and this, and I can do all of that. I can even give you proof by, going through like some of my experience and achievements, and even share with you some certifications that I may have gotten for that. Then, of course, kapag nakita nila na, yeah, you're the person that we're looking for because you have all the skills we're looking for, then he will hire you. Diba? So that's how you should answer those questions. Now, there are also questions that are kind of difficult to answer. Some of those questions are what you see on the screen here. And a lot of people, actually, kahit ako, medyo nahihirapan ako sumagot ng mga ganyang question. Particularly yung question about leadership styles. Or, well, kasi hindi naman masyadong tinatanong yung have you ever declined something at work. But yung mga ganyang klaseng questions kasi are, kumbaga, they're a bit tricky because they want to know you personally, and usually pag tinatanong nila yan, they want to know if this is something na parang habit or if this is something na gagawin mo rin sa kanila eventually. For example, the question of have you ever declined I don't know, a task at work? If you said yes, parang yes, I said no to a job. I said no to something. So parang pwedeng mag-red flag na agad yun sa interviewer mo na, tumatanggi pala siya sa trabaho. But if you follow it up with why you said no to it, pwedeng ang reason mo is because of medical condition. I have a medical condition na hindi ko magagawa yung task na yan. Or it conflicts with our agreement initially na I have to only work for a certain number of hours, and I cannot extend yung mga ganung bagay. If you support it with that, then that will give them an understanding on why you are saying no to those kinds of tasks that are given to you in the past. And then yung question about what leadership styles do you like or you dislike the most, they wanted to just check and make sure if you will be able to work well with the people that are already in the company. So giving them a background of the types of leaderships or yung mga gusto mo sa mga leader, will give them an idea kung nag-work ka din or if you can work best with your upcoming or your future boss or not. So important lang when you're answering those kinds of questions is, again, you do not stop with just ayoko nito, ito yung gusto ko, ito yung gusto ko. You always have to give them a reason why you don't like it or why you like it. And now, in terms of why did you leave your previous job, ang pinaka-importante lang dyan is do not berate or wag mong siraan yung dati mong kumpanya. Kahit galit na galit ka, kaya mo sila iniwan, do not talk so bad of your previous company because you don't know. Yung interviewer mo baka may kakilala doon sa dati mong company, or baka one of these days makatrabaho mo yung isang tao from your company and that same one that you're in now, and machismis, diba? You want to avoid that from happening too. So you tell them the reason that you put into your resignation letter. If on your resignation letter you told them na I'm looking for better opportunities, edi yun yung isasagot mo doon sa mga ganong klaseng questions. Huwag ka nang mag-imbento ng iba. So kung ano yung nasa resignation mo, yun na lang yung sundin mo. But if you put something on your resignation letter na medyo hindi magandang pakinggan ng interview, then find a way to say it in a parang mas magandang pakinggan ng manner. And again, always give them a reason why you did that or why you chose to go that route. Now, here are some of the questions naman that you can ask your interviewer. It's important that you ask them about the job at hand and some questions that are relevant to it, kasi nga it shows them that you are interested in the job. Now, it's also good for you to ask if you will fit in with the people that you will be working with, kasi you want to know if your kumbaga yung culture, the workplace environment is not going to be toxic for you. If especially you will have to be working with people na you can't really say kung ano magiging klaseng katrabaho kay yung makakasama mo, but at least if they will give you or they will be able to give you an idea kung anong klaseng employees meron sila dun sa company. What was their COVID-19 response, if ever? And I'm not saying there will be another pandemic, hopefully not, But if anything like that happens, what are their responses for employees? Because you want to know if they have anything planned for you, if anything like that happens again, and when should you expect to hear from them, and what are the next steps in the hiring process, because that again shows your enthusiasm, your interest in the job that you're applying for. Now, this is not related to job interview, but I just want to breeze through some of the tips that that I can recommend that you follow for negotiating job offers naman. So, for example, you went through the whole interview and it went well, and they offered you a job. So it's best that you actually assess the job that's given to you and make sure that before you even sign it, this is really what you want. Kasi yung ibang tao, they don't want to go through another set of interviews. So kung ano na lang mauna, tinatanggap na lang agad without actually assessing if this is the best job for them or not. So knowing if this is the job that will make you happy in the long run, or if this is what you're really thinking about for future career growth, or if it's aligned to the most important things to you at the moment, then that will help you make your decision. Now, when you're given an offer, make sure that you do not accept the job offer on the spot. Give it time, read through the fine print and every detail of the offer, and then negotiate if there's anything on it that you don't like. That's the best time for you to actually, negotiate after they give you the offer. And then respond the way you were offered the job if you're going to accept it. If they give it to you in person, you can go back and tell them that you are accepting it, or you can respond to them either by phone or by email. But if you are to negotiate an offer, make sure that you also are asking or you're negotiating politely for possible options. You explain why you are negotiating, but do not do a sub story, do not oversell, or do not parang give them a reason na parang pang maalaala mo kaya na reason. You negotiate because of these things. The salary is not what I was expecting based on my research, or based on the requirements, or based on the job description. I think you can offer me something like this, or this is what I was getting in the past. If they said yes, then you can accept. If however they said no to it, and that may happen, always reply to the offer the same way you were offered the job. So if they give it to you in person, I'm not saying you go back in person para sabihin na, nope, I'm not accepting the offer. But you can at least tell them over the email or via email or over the phone na lang. But if they send it to you via email, then you reply via email then if you're accepting it or not. If they give you the job offer over the phone, then you call them then to tell them whether you're accepting it or not. And do not delay your response, because you don't want your recruiters to wait for wala naman pala, especially if hindi mo tatanggapin. So if alam mo na agad you're not accepting the offer, tell them right away and give them a good but brief reason as to why you're not accepting it. Either way, you show appreciation and offer to stay in touch para if they have opportunities for you in the future, then you can take advantage of those again. So this is a summary basically of what we have discussed in this session. Make sure that whether the interview is done over the phone or on video, that you present yourself well as if you would on a face-to-face interview. Preparation is key to making long-lasting impressions during interviews. Create and practice your interview responses to common questions ahead of time, because the more you practice, the better they come out during the interview. Always remember to use the STAR method when you're also answering situational questions, and do not always jump into a job offer when presented to you. Always take the time to assess it if it's the best job for you or not. So I will end our discussion with this quote that I found on Google. I don't know who said it, but job interviews are like first dates. Good impressions count. Awkwardness can occur. Outcomes are unpredictable, but you can always prepare for it. And hopefully in this discussion, we were able to share with you some tips on how you can prepare for them. So before we go through the Q&A, and I don't know if we still have time for that, I would like to also just invite our viewers to also register as a job seeker, if you are looking for jobs right now, to Workbank by going on to workbank.com/StackLeague, as we have partnered with StackTrek to help participants in StackLeague who are looking for jobs to place them to opportunities that we have in our platform. Here are some of the companies, IT companies on Workbank that are hiring for IT professionals. Indra, Talk.to, MSoftTech, Outliant, HIS, and Integrated Computer Systems Inc. are hiring and are very much looking forward for or looking for people with profiles like you. We also have other companies that have IT opportunities available from IntelliWork, Delonix, Dreamscape Networks, Lorma Colleges, and SSI Phils or Philippines Inc. So please do check those out. Again, you can go to workbank.com/StackLeague to register and look into these job opportunities. If you are also interested to learn more skills on how you can develop your presentation skills, or if you want to know more about digital marketing, for example, or business analysis, we're also hosting trainings, free and subsidized trainings. So some of them may come with a cost via the Workbank Academy. You can visit workbank.com/academy naman to look for our lineup of trainings for June and July. And that's it. Thank you very much for joining us in this session. Please follow us on our social media if you would like to stay in touch with Workbank updates. Thank you to StackTrek for having us today as well. We can open the floor for Q&A.
All right. Thank you so much, Tanya, for that very comprehensive talk. And hopefully for anyone out here looking for job opportunities, this session from Tanya and Workbank has been very valuable to you. So since medyo ano na tayo sa time, we'll just take siguro 2 questions, Tanya. So we have one here, a very engaging participant named Trisha Nicole Arboleda Dalmasio. So ito yung question niya. If you will be given a chance po, kung meron pong instance na nag-apply po kayo sa pinakagusto niyong company and you're being chosen pero the salary is not too high versus sa company na pinag-a-applyan nyo pero hindi naman gaano kilala but they know your worth or they are looking for what they see from your CV kaya they want to hire you with higher salary than the first company. What would you choose, Miss Tanya? Ayun. Tanya, you're on mute.
Yun pala, nakita ko nga, I'm on mute pala. So that depends actually on what your priorities are. And this is something that we covered dun sa isang training namin, career development training that we do. Because what your current priorities are will determine kung anong trabaho yung tatanggapin mo. If your priority now is to earn more, then of course you go for the job that offers a higher salary. You can always look for other opportunities naman when you have experience, right? But if you're not very much pressed for that, kung hindi naman masyadong issue sa'yo yung sahod, but you have, what's more important to you is that the company is stable, dahil kilala na yung company, matagal na sila, then you can go for that. So it all boils down to what is it that you are, that's important for you right now? Is it sahod or the stability? Either way, you can always write down yung pros and cons for both of them and then compare. And then kapag nakita mo from the pros and cons kung alin yung mas okay, then you use that as your reference to make your decision.
All right. So thank you so much for that, Tanya. I hope, Trisha, that was a very insightful answer for you. And then we have one more. It's a quick question, I think. So this one is from Feldian Michi. So in terms of jobs based on creativity, should we be making visual CV or simple CV?
Ang recommendation ko parati is if the job that you're applying to requires your creativity, then you showcase your creativity just by creating your CV na. So a creative CV is best for creative jobs. And actually kahit na nga hindi creative, but creative jobs but aside from just resume, creative resumes, create work on a creative profile then online, like, blogs or vlogs, or even Instagram, or profiles that will showcase their creativity, because that will supplement yung creative resume that you are going to create for yourself.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Tanya. So we just have one message from Trisha, no, the person who we shared her question earlier. So we will never forget those tips that you shared to us. Those are a big help for us fresh job seekers. Thank you, Miss Tanya and StackLeague Workbank for acing the interview session. So all right, that's to end our
All right.
session.
Thank you
Again,
very
thank
much.
you so much, Miss Tanya, for your time. And of course, as what Miss Tanya said earlier, if you want to learn more, this Workbank provides a lot of resources, even sessions. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. Make sure to maximize them. So all you need to do is just register to the account. So it's workbank.com/stackleague for all of the attendees out here. All right. And that's it to wrap up the night. Thank you so much again for everyone joining us. And if you haven't registered to StackLeague yet, or you know someone who might be interested, who's also a programmer who want to upskill or learn a lot of programming skills and also share or leverage all of these sessions, then StackLeague is for them. That's it. Thank you so much, everyone, and good evening.
Thank you.